What's up, everyone? Welcome to Lowered Expectations. Thanks for lowering your expectations and hanging out with me here. I do appreciate it. I was just playing around with my waste oil water heater, which you guys can't see, it's just off screen. And I somehow got sidetracked and ended up taking a fuel pump apart. I haven't had any fuel pump issues other than one stopped working momentarily for me and a quick tap and it started working. It's been working ever since. However, the fuel pump on BJ's truck went bad and well, I decided to cut it apart in my lathe, and that's what you guys are about to see next. I decided not to film most of the turning work. I basically just put the pump in the lathe and then cut away at the housing till I could pull this plastic piece out. Once that was done, I then used my parting tool to actually cut into the housing to get in behind where the magnetic coil is. I've never taken one of these apart before, so it was kind of a guessing game, but it ended up working. I didn't show the operation, but I actually spun the pump around and cut away at the backside, and then I could pull the whole thing out with the connectors and coil attached. I wish I would have recorded this. It was fairly satisfying and a little terrifying unwinding this length of copper wire. After I had the copper wire off, I cut away at the plastic. After thinking back, I probably should have just used the lathe to do this, but I didn't. Interesting. There's diesel in there. There's your piston. Later on in the video, I will give a brief explanation on how the pump works and talk about some of the components, but for now, let's just enjoy this footage. This is a mesh filter behind the inlet connector, and you can see there's some stuff on it despite using an inline filter. In here you can see where the back of the piston bumps up against. I've removed the filter so that I can pull this thing out and inspect it, but there wasn't actually much to look at. It's just a plastic body, one end as a filter and the other end as a piece for the back of the piston to sit on. As you can see right here. there you have it, folks. This is your standard 22 milliliter pump. 22 milliliter, meaning that it takes 1,000 strokes to make 22 milliliters. So one stroke is 0.022 milliliters. And one stroke is this. This is the pickup hole or the feed hole. And you guys saw earlier, I removed this check ball. It goes in the end of here. And there is a little spring that goes in the end to hold spring pressure against that ball. That only allows the fuel to go in one direction, and that is out of this end. This sits over the end like that. This is very hard to do with one hand. And then we've got some of these barrels. This one sits on this side with this plastic piece. This had a filter built into it. Went in, oh wait, I got that backwards. That goes this way. And this filter piece went in this way. This is where the back of the piston makes contact. I guess this is not the piston. This would be the actual piece that the magnetic force acts on. So we should talk about that, I guess. The coil around the outside of this is a magnetic coil or electromagnet. Every time it gets a pulse of electricity, it throws this piston forward, and that is what causes it to pulse. We've got our inlet over here, our outlet over there. These pieces went together something like that. And that's all there is to it. That clicking noise that you hear is this hammer. I'm not sure if it's actually the hammer bottoming out. It's probably it going all the way this way, because on the back side of this, we'll see we've got a metal buffer or a metal bumper that actually hits against the end of this thing here. So they've put a little bit of thought into quieting it down. The reason why they don't put a bumper, I'm assuming the reason why they don't put a bumper on this side is because that could actually increase the volume of your pump. The way that they determine how much fuel this pumps is basically the piston. It's going to be impossible to see, I assume, but the piston goes up to that hole, and there's fuel in this cylinder, this brass cylinder, and as the piston goes past that hole, it closes the hole off, and then it pushes the fuel out. And then as the piston returns, it creates a little bit of a vacuum or a low pressure, and then as the piston goes back past that hole, it pulls more fuel into there. So the amount of fuel that this pump displaces is determined by the placement of that hole. So it plugs off the hole, and then it pushes the fuel through. So if you plugged that hole and put another hole a little bit further back, it would displace more fuel because it would close the hole sooner and then push it through. So I'm assuming that's how they make larger volume pumps, but I could be totally wrong. This is the only one I've ever had apart. I'm going to peel this off and see if there's anything behind there, but I highly doubt it. That's kind of interesting. They use a piece of square rubber jammed inside of a round hole, but hey, if it works, it works. This is a hardened metal rod. I don't know if I mentioned that, but this is very hard, similar to a dowel pin. And it goes into a brass, very tight fitting or precision fit, not tight. It has to be able to move easily, so precision fit brass tube. And there is simply a seal because of the fact that it is a very close fit. There's no O-ring or anything like that. I hope you guys enjoyed. This isn't my normal filming style or editing style. I filmed all these clips on my iPhone just while I was kind of in the middle of doing other things. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you want to see other diesel heater content or waste oil burner / water heater content, be sure to subscribe. And if you like the video, please remember to give it a like. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. This guy outside in his car just slid into the curb. You can see the tire tracks at the corner. I heard a bang. He just completely destroyed that car. That's a bad night. I wonder if he'll be able to drive away. Yikes.